Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for a brand new Film Fanatic show. It is Monday at 11:35. Really beautiful day so far. Beautiful morning. December 8th. So yeah, hope everyone's doing good. I did a couple of new shows on. I just uploaded the second part. I realized doing it, I was like, wait, there's a lot of movies I'm not mentioning. So then I was like, I'm gonna make this a two-parter. I almost considered doing a third part too, but I think I think I got to. I mean, I could do it. It could be never ending because I'll always keep coming up with something otherwise, but or an extra movie. But I decided to do a couple of videos on winter themed movies. And I really appreciate people have been commenting a lot on the video, and it was a lot of fun to do. It was a new thing. I've never really done that because I had seen a couple of people that I've been watching on YouTube that I really like did a couple of shows on winter themed movies, and I was like, that's a really cool idea. I've never really done that, and so I did that a few days ago, and then I just uploaded the second part. So I really appreciate all the folks making recommendations and commenting on the videos. It's been a lot of fun. That's what it's all about, and uh, I really appreciate also the recommendations. There were a bunch of films that some folks posted that made kind of their list for winter films that I never even heard of. So there's just so many movies, so little time, and it's the best. That's the best part of this whole thing. So yeah, very very cool. And the other thing is, I'm really excited about today's show. Uh, I got to go see with some friends. We went last night to see the newly released, for like a very limited time, the Kill Bill films, The Whole Bloody Affair. We went last night, which was Sunday, to the Main Center Theater, which is a really amazing facility in Waterville, Maine, which is Waterville's not too far. It's a little less than an hour from my house. A lot of the times when I go out to the movies, and when I do go to the movies, we end up going to down to Flagship Cinema, which is 35 minutes, 40 minutes from here. And then also the Colonial Theater in Belfast, which is like 7 minutes away. But the one in Waterville is, I mean, all those theaters are great, but the one in Waterville was just great. I really love this theater. It's a, it's brand new. I think it's only like a few years old. Colby College put a lot of money and time into kind of developing the downtown of Waterville, and it's a super cool spot to hang out. I mean, there's a lot of cool bars now. There's some great restaurants. There's this really great Indian restaurant right across the street from the movie theater, and we went there for dinner before the movie, and it was great. Always good stuff. Service is good. We don't have to like wait, and it's great, and it's awesome because it's literally across the street. And there's a couple of really cool bars down there. There's a couple of cool restaurants, and I used to be down in Waterville a lot with a band that I used to play with, and we used to play at this venue down there that I do believe still exists called Mainly Brews, which is like a brew pub, but it's a music venue, and we used to play down there a lot back, quite a few years ago. And back then, Waterville was kind of a, not that I'm like shitting on Waterville, Maine, but it was kind of a dumpy place. There wasn't much going on. Bull Moose Music is there, which is amazing, and there's some kind of quite a few shops there. Record Connection is there, which is an amazing shop. That's always been there, but there wasn't really much of a nightlife or like variety of places to go to or bars or restaurants. Now it's totally new. It's a totally new vibe, and I really dig it. The new theater that we went to see Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair. I think it's only been around for a few years, and it's got this really cool design to it, really cool architecture, and it feels like really modern. It's really great, and it's all like open, so you can, if you're walking on the sidewalk, you can see the inside the entire building, and it's got this really long staircase. It's a really awesome venue. I kind of feel like it might be my new favorite place to go to a movie. We saw Kill Bill last night, and we saw it in this tiny theater. They have three theaters. They have one that is like I think 40 seats, and another that's like 20. And we went into the smallest theater, which I don't know, maybe had 15 seats, 20 seats, maybe. It was wild. It felt like we were. It felt like I was sitting on my couch. That's how comfortable it was watching a movie. Like it was wild. Really beautiful sound system, total surround sound system, beautiful screen, real state of the art again, real modern, and the tickets were pretty cheap. I mean, considering it was two movies for one, and granted, it was time wise, it's an undertaking because I mean both movies are long, like over 2 hours. So we were there. The whole experience was about 5 hours. There was a 15-minute intermission, which I thought was cool. I mean, because you could, get up, go to the bathroom, stretch your legs, get some snacks or whatever, and that's what we did. Two of my friends, the two friends that I went with, during intermission, they stepped outside of the building, went outside, and then they got locked out, which was pretty funny. But then they were able to get rescued. Um, and so, but the whole night was great. We got down there. The movie started at 6. We got down there about quarter to 5, and then we went to the Indian place. It's a really great Indian restaurant right across the street. And it's funny. This was my second weekend down in Waterville, just like hanging out, and it's great. I totally go down there again. It's not that far of a drive. Totally worth it. There's some really cool things going on down there. So, and the movie started at 6. We got dinner and then we got our tickets, and it was my third attempt to see Kill Bill. So I was like, okay. Part of me was like, okay, I hope something doesn't go wrong again, because I had tried going there last week with a friend, and somehow we screwed up the time or the date, and we were at the wrong place at the wrong time. And the movie actually opened up, was premiering or opening up at this movie theater this past Friday. So we had the wrong weekend, wrong time. I don't know how the hell we did it. It was kind of hilarious, but then we ended up seeing the Knives Out film instead, the new one, which is really really good. Highly recommend it. And we ended up getting the guy who sold us our tickets took it easy. He saw that we were super bummed out about our screw up with the date, and he gave us the tickets for free for the new Knives Out movie, and that was pretty awesome. So, and then we were going to go see it on Saturday, but then my buddy got sick, so he couldn't leave the house. So I was like, oh man. And then I was trying to figure out when else I could see it, because it was playing. It's playing at the main center theater until I think Thursday of this week, and then it's gone. Not a long run at all. It's a very limited time that this whole thing is going to be in the theaters. So I was like, oh shit. And then I'm like, the only day I can see it, schedule wise, because I'll be at work, I wouldn't have enough time to get to the week shows, the weeknight shows. It's like the only time I can go is Sunday. And I was kind of like scrambling around asking some friends if they want to go. And then I was thinking, even if I couldn't make that work, I was going to just go by myself, because if I didn't get a chance to see it in a theater, I would have wanted to hang myself. So I ended up finding a couple friends that ended up wanting to go, and it was great. It was pretty funny because I went with my good buddy, and he brought a friend who I know pretty well, and he's a really cool guy. He thought we were going. He had never seen the Kill Bill movies, which was wild, and then he thought we were going to see a play. So that was pretty funny. But he was totally into it. And I have to say, it was amazing. It was, I don't know. I think the whole thing was a little bit better than what I expected. I wouldn't say I was worried about like the length of the movies, like sitting through both movies. That doesn't really bother me. I mean, if I'm into a movie, I don't really care about the length, you know. I don't really, you know, I don't. That's not really a concern. It's not something I generally think about. You know, probably the best movie I saw this year was One Battle After Another, which is just an extraordinary movie. That movie's, you know, lengthwise, it's pretty long, but that movie just rocks the whole way through, and I never like check my watch. And that's kind of how I felt the way the Kill Bill movies are. It has that kind of forward momentum the whole time. And I was like, no, it's like, and I had realized a couple of days ago before going to see it last night. Wow, it's been a long time since I've seen these movies. Like a really long, it was longer than I thought. So in some ways, I've seen the first one before last night. I had seen the first Kill Bill movie probably about 7 to 8 times, and then I had seen Kill Bill 2 probably maybe twice or 3 times. I haven't seen the second one very, very much. And it had been a long time since I'd seen that one. And so, and it had been a long, long time since I watched the Kill Bill movies. I remember seeing Kill Bill, the original, in the theater with my buddy Sean, who was a guest on the show, when it came out in the theater. And then I saw it again after that. I saw Kill Bill, the original, the first one, twice in the theater. And then when Kill Bill 2 came out, I saw that twice in the theater as well. And then probably saw Kill Bill, like, again, probably another 3 or 4 times on DVD. And then maybe once or twice for Kill Bill 2. And then and then I hadn't seen it in a very, very long time. And then about 2 or 3 years ago, I bought Kill Bill on Blu-ray, which I was super excited because I had never seen it on Blu-ray. And I got it, and it was defective. So midway through the Blu-ray, it starts crapping out. It's like scratched or whatever. And that was a few years ago. So I actually hadn't seen these movies in a very, very long time. So in some ways, it was like seeing it for the first time. It was amazing to see it on the big screen. The transfer was phenomenal. The sound was just incredible. It was a whole new experience seeing it this way. It really was. And as far as like, you know, I'd been reading about this, you know, release that was coming out. I remember hearing about this whole thing about 2 or 3 months ago. And I was like, wow, okay, that sounds amazing. Because I do feel like, you know, as far as going to the theater, paying money, and having that real, like, immersive theatrical experience, this is like one of those movies. These are 2 movies that are meant to be seen on the big screen, especially because of how visual they are. And so I was very much looking forward to it. And I'd heard that there was going to be additional scenes. It was going to be, to a certain degree, these movies were going to be kind of slightly recut. And Tarantino has said, and I remember seeing interviews with him over the years, and he's kind of always said this, or said that his intentions for these movies, Kill Bill and Kill Bill 1 and 2, was that he originally wanted them to both be released at the same time. But because of the length, you know, you're talking almost 5 hours, he decided to break it up. And I think there was like maybe a year, 2 years in between movies, I think. And I think they were both shot at the same time, from what I gather. I think he shot all of, you know, both movies back to back. And it's staggering how many different kinds of influences are that inspired this movie. There is so much technical skill. There's so much technical skill in this movie. I mean, you have the fight choreography, it's such an epic film. It really is. It's probably, I'm a big Tarantino fan, and I think as far as from making your magus opus, like it's like Mozart creating the Requiem. To me, this is like his like ultimate kind of movie in some ways, and I feel like this movie has that feel. Like you see so much of his passion for films and so much of his, you see so many of his influences. And I would say, like, as far as the new scenes and the new things and the recuts and some of the new elements in this movie, I'd say overall there's probably about 20 minutes added to these films. Definitely more so for Kill Bill. There's a big giant extra animated sequence with Lucy Liu's character Oren Chi, which is amazing, absolutely amazing. That's very new. There's also a scene of where during the infamous battle, one of the greatest fight sequences I think in the history of cinema, um, the House of the Blue Leaves. I guess in the original cut, because of how gory the film is and or was when it was done, there there is a big chunk or a big scene that was all in black and white, so it could get you know uh, the approval for the ratings board, for the ratings board. But still, still incredible, still, and it's still very effective. But in this cut, it's all in color, so it's like twice the amount or three times the amount of gore. The House of Blue Leaves is just like a slaughter fucking house. Like it's unbelievable, blood spraying everywhere. Very satisfying. Pretty much the ultimate homage to all of the great samurai films of our film history, and just incredible, absolutely incredible. And to see it in its all of its gory glory was absolutely spectacular. So that was a big change. And then I also feel like there was a few sequences in Kill Bill 2 that were longer or maybe expanded more. And there's like a 15-minute intermission. And some people have said, well, like I saw reviews that were posted for this movie. And again, this is a movie I've seen, both of these movies, or especially the first one, these are movies I've seen before many, many times, but it's been years. But I saw, because it got a pretty wide release. There were a lot of releases, a lot of reviews for it, and I saw a review by Chris Stuckman where he said he didn't really feel it was necessarily like to watch it this way wasn't absolutely necessary. Like, he's like you could probably watch like two, break them up, watch the original releases and still get the same experience, which I agree with. But watching it this way, the way we did, was definitely the best experience I've ever had with these movies. I mean, without a doubt. Even though like there is a 15-minute intermission, so there is like a break, and then you come back to it. But I think for your bodily functions, that's good because you can pee or and whatnot. You don't have to pee in your popcorn bucket, so it's good for that. And you kind of let it, you let the whole thing settle. And the thing is, like, it was great. I mean, I was totally into it. It was a very very unique and different experience this time, and I kind of wanted to spend a little time talking about that. So again, massive fan. I think Tarantino is one of the best contemporary filmmakers out there. I mean, the only movie of his that I'm not a fan of, which I think was, well, I think it was generally a really big misfire, was Death Proof with Kurt Russell. I I don't know. I felt that movie legitimately did drag ass and kind of went off the rails a little bit. But other than that, I'm a huge fan of all of his other films. I mean, so many great movies. And of course, my favorites have always been, well, there's Reservoir Dogs. I am a huge fan of The Hateful Eight too. I think that movie is absolutely spectacular. Um, so many great films, so many great films, and Jackie Brown is one. Jackie Brown's actually one of my favorites too, and it's always been a thing of like, as far as Tarantino, the way his crazy brain works, and again, he's got that, thing of where he everything he's directed, he's an incredibly skilled writer first and foremost, but he writes and directs all of these his own projects, which is pretty miraculous. I think the only film that he's done that was kind of based on source material, but yet he did something very different with it, is Jackie Brown, which I think was based on a more Leonard or a book, and I think it was called Rum Punch, like a pulpy kind of a fiction crime book. But other than that, everything has been, you know, straight from his insane, imaginative brain, and so, which is in itself is amazing. But I've always like seen his influences. Obviously, he's in all of his films, he's always been really influenced by tons of exploitation movies. Black exploitation, obviously with Jackie Brown. All of lots of Sergio Leone films, all kinds of spaghetti westerns, all kinds of action exploitation movies from Italy, a lot of Italian movies, TV movies. I mean, so that whole all of those kinds of films, like basically my favorite genre or genres of filmmaking, have always kind of been a part of his world. Where there's references to those eras, the decades, the look of the film, the grade of the film, the music that's used, the dialogue, the costuming. I mean, just everything, top to bottom. It's always been a huge influence. So it's always been a thing. But watching these movies, Kill Bill and Kill Bill 1 and Kill Bill 2 last night, for me it was even more of a heightened kind of experience when it comes to seeing his influences. Because most of the time, and again, that's been it's a style of filmmaking I've always loved, and I got exposed to a lot of these films, as a kid, and I've always loved them. But it wasn't until about 5 years ago where I really, kind of jumped down, went through that rabbit hole, or went into the rabbit hole where, and have gone full on to buying all kinds of exploitation movies from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and that's the crap I watch most of the time when I'm home, by myself, or just home in general. At the end of the day, I will. That's what I watch all the time. Are those kinds of movies, giallo films, crime exploitation movies, old school action exploitation movies, horror exploitation movies, slasher movies. I mean, that's my jam. It's my favorite style of filmmaking. So since I've like gotten way into that style, watching Kill Bill 1 and 2, it was, I could see and like his references to like films in the 70s, and like Italian films from the 70s and 80s. For me, I had an even more kind of deeper connection to that, or understanding. It was kind of like a revelation. It was really interesting. And it was like I could see his influences so much more. And watching both of these movies, it's like it does feel, even though it is a contemporary film, or at least it was when it came out, it feels literally like an old exploitation movie from the 70s. Like it has that vibe. Like I forgot on how much how much this movie, or both of these movies, were influenced by those genres, like to the degree where it was just like, whoa, like kind of blatant and amazing. I mean, just incredible. And how deep that really ran, and how deep it actually does go. Seeing in this experience of watching it in this context where I have really, taken, uh, you know, kind of gotten obsessed with that, with those films and seeing all those references. All of the classic Italian exploitation movies. I mean, that was a massive thing. The obvious Hong Kong martial arts films, which has always been a given, massive influence on these films. Black exploitation films, big time, big, 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 influence. The and the obvious spaghetti western influences for this film. I mean, big time. And I was really also like saw that there was like a big kind of like giallo vibe too, which I thought was really cool. I mean, basically all of the low budget, gritty exploitation movies that especially came out of Italy. I even saw a what I at least I gathered it to be a Lucio Fulci reference, which I was like, wow, that's amazing. The coolest thing that I saw that I picked up on, and maybe it was intentional, maybe it wasn't, but it probably was. Um, a few years ago, I bought this incredible exploitation movie called Thriller, and it's a revenge film that from the '70s, and it's one of the most badass like revenge movies ever. And in Kill Bill, both one and two, Daryl Hannah's character, Black Mambo, I think that's her character's name. She has an eye patch, and from what I read, that was taken directly from this movie Thriller. Which, if you haven't seen Thriller, the '70s revenge movie, it's got to be one of the most badass movies ever made. And watching that movie, and I've seen it multiple times, that movie just had such a massive influence. Like, there's so much stuff taken from that movie in Kill Bill. Like, it's kind of this crazy revelation. And then the other thing that I saw that was really great was I felt like I saw a big Sergio Martino influence. And I never thought I would see a Lucio Fulci reference. Like, I feel like the Gates of Hell, there's a scene in that where in Kill Bill where Uma Thurman's she's buried alive, and there's a scene where she's like getting out of the, she gets herself out of the ground, and I was like, that's totally like a reference to like Gates of Hell, Lucio Fulci, which I never thought, I never picked up on before. Maybe I'm wrong, but that was the vibe I got, which was wild. Like, there was this little like nod to Italian horror films, and so there's that. But then I saw like a big kind of reference to a lot of giallo films, which I love. A lot of the old trashy giallo films from the '70s, and especially uh, with Sergio Martino, who is one of my favorite directors, who's like made all kinds of amazing, exploitation movies and giallo films, especially really violent, really dark, really raw. And one of my favorite films of his is this movie called The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward. And it has one of the most incredible soundtracks. And I actually have the soundtrack on CD. But it's one of my favorite Sergio Martino films, and it's one of my favorite giallo films. And I had just watched it again last night. I got this beautiful Blu-ray release of it from Severin, and it's got some of the greatest music ever. It's one of my favorite film score soundtracks, and there's music that was taken directly from that movie that is in Kill Bill, which was fucking wild. It's in Kill Bill 2, and I'm like, holy shit! Like, this movie is so influenced by so much Italian cinema. And I always thought, originally it was like, okay, this movie, when I first saw the movie, when I first saw these movies back in the day when it came out, I was like, okay, it's obviously really influenced by spaghetti westerns. I mean, that's a big thing. And especially Hong Kong action movies. That was, like I feel like in a lot of ways this is Tarantino's kind of love letter to Hong Kong action cinema. And this movie also, both of these movies is a big new thing for Tarantino to take on, because you know as far as him like creating these movies that have these incredibly elaborate action sequences. I mean, a completely different thing for him to do. And so those are the influences I saw. But watching it this time, I saw all of these other influences, all these other genres or subgenres in the Italian world in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, especially 70s, with crime dramas, TV shows, American TV shows, and then, from the 80s, and then also Giallo films. I mean, just everything. And I was like, wow, like it was, it was a more, it made for a much more enjoyable and a much more, like, I felt like the experience was more rich watching it in this context. I enjoyed it even more. And I'm like, whoa, I could see, watching the movie go by, I was like, oh, wait, seeing all these different elements all of a sudden of different things that he was being influenced by that I didn't really pick up on before. So cool. And I'm so excited that I got to see this whole thing in the theater. And I have to say, I think it was a little bit better than I expected. I knew going into it there was going to be. I had heard that there was going to be, when it came to some of the animation sequences, that there were going to be some added scenes to that. That was all I knew about it. And I had heard that the ending for Kill Bill Part 1 was going to be slightly altered or different because it was going to segue into it. And but that was it. And I felt like, okay, yep, there was about 20 minutes altogether that I don't remember seeing it, that I don't remember seeing originally. But again, it was a real fresh experience because and just in general, I hadn't seen these movies in years. So, and then plus with the added scenes, it was just great. It felt really fresh. It felt really new. And I was super excited. It was totally worth it. It was kind of a better experience than I thought. I knew it was going to be good, but it was just invigorating. And it was like, this is why. It was one of those experiences where I was like, this is why I love movies so much. This is why I love going to the theater. Like this is the reason. So if it's playing in your wherever you live out there, if if you happen to be in a city where the whole bloody affair is playing, because again I think it's only for a very limited run. This was the only theater, the main film center in Waterville. It was the only theater I believe it was playing that where this was shown or is being shown in the entire state, which is kind of crazy. I didn't see it playing anywhere else. And again, even that, it's there for less than a week. So if it's playing anywhere near your hometown or in your hometown, anybody who happens to see this video, get a chance to see it. Really, really cool. It's meant to be seen on the big screen. It's just amazing. So thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.